Hello and welcome to the latest from Heart Standard. My name is Joel Sked and I'm delighted to be joined again by Craig Cairns. How's it going, Craig?
Not too bad, Joel. Slightly traumatised, but not too bad.
Yeah. We kind of mentioned it on the episode last week where you've picked a real good time to start at Heart Standard, and when you thought I could only get better, then they deliver a performance like Sunday, and it's like deja vu, not just with the type of performance that we saw or have been seeing, but also these podcasts, because I remember 12 months ago when Hearts rise slowly, and it just felt like James and I were being very having to deal with a lot of dreariness to begin with, and talk through a lot of dreariness. But we do it come rain or shine. That's what we have to do. So we are here to discuss the 3-1 defeat to Motherwell on Sunday. I have had the displeasure of rewatching the full. I was going to say the full 90 minutes. I've only watched up until the second goal. That was more than enough to.
I watched back the Salazar pass, and that was enough for me.
Oh, the pass to.
So we've got it covered. We've got the whole game covered between us.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. What did you? So we were both there yesterday. What did you? Just kind of like an overarching look at it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was really poor. I thought for the first time this season, I thought it was a very poor 90 minutes. I think from all the other games, you can take varying degrees of positivity from them. A half or a good performance, a valiant performance, but losing it in the last minute. There's been things there to hang your hat on, but unfortunately, there wasn't much there on Sunday at all. There was an early period in the game where there was a lot of possession, but there was no chances on goal. You showed me the XG at halftime, or just going on to halftime. I think it was 0.11 or something like that.
Yeah.
And towards the end of the half, Motherwell get their goal, and they have a spell where they could have scored another couple. There was a few other chances. Casey doesn't connect with a header. Gordon saves with his face. I think it was his face. You've watched it back. Was it his face?
Yeah, I think it was. And two of the three angles suggested it was his face. There was only one angle where it looked like he got his hand up to it. But either way, it was. If you meant it, it was an incredible save. Or just beat him in the right place.
Part of it's just getting anything you can in the way, isn't it? And sometimes that is weird parts of your body. And the second half, other than a 10-minute spell around Oda's goal, there was nothing really there again. It was very disjointed, a lot of changes, and I know that some of the changes were by their nature sort of shoehorning players into certain positions just to kind of go for it. But yeah, we never really got any kind of rhythm going at any point in the second half, or any kind of sustained pressure. Never looked like we were getting that equaliser, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. It's once again like similar to Dundee. It was different to Falkirk, where it's like Falkirk had chances early on and then just completely petered out with it and never looked like getting back into it. Against both Dundee and Motherwell, it's been very much a case of not playing well for 45 to 60 minutes and then having maybe a wee flurry where you thought, there's a chance that the team could get back into it, but never really looking like producing the quality and the creativity, the magic that's needed. I think. Yeah, we'll bring in a lot of the comments because there's a few on Twitter and a few on YouTube just now. But watching it back, I was kind of expecting to see a lot of the ball from. It just felt like a lot of the play went from Kent to Rolls to Salazar back to Rolls, and then maybe to Kent again. But actually watching it back, I was surprised it wasn't. Kent and Rolls were actually really good at progressing the ball into the Motherwell half, not by running with it, but some of their passing was really, really good. But it was when we got into the Motherwell half, just did nothing with it. just did absolutely nothing with it. And you say credit has to go to Motherwell because I think they were really intense and energetic when they needed to be. They got bodies around, but when it got into the kind of the Motherwell half or the final third, it would either be a poor touch. There's one moment Alan Forrest went to control a Raul's pass and it went straight up the pitch. It would be a heady pass where Jan Dander tried to play in Lauren Shankland and it rolled out, similar Forrest to Shankland, and it got swept up. There was a moment where Shankland got the ball on the left-hand side and he tried an outside of the foot, kind of cross it into the box. The only issue is that there was about 6 Motherwell players in the box and there was no Hearts player in the box. Both him and Forrest were out left, and Dander was trying to get into the box, and then Spittle was somewhere behind him. So there was just nothing. It just broke down. There was just nothing in the final third. There was not someone who's willing to take a pass. To take an opponent on, and yeah, it was just all very frustrating to watch. I'll bring in some comments here. Grant McLean says this was something we'll come to talk about. Maybe play 4 at the back as we did against Rangers and Pilsen. Also, Shankland is a forward, isn't he? We'll come to talk about Shankland. To be fair, we played a back 3 against Pilsen and it worked. And I think that's where I'll probably bring in this question: is that are we now at a point where it's a back 3 in games where we are going to have to do a lot of defending? Basically, we just have to be set up to be resolute and hard to beat, whereas back 4 is very much domestic against all teams that are not Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one because as the players keep saying post-match, Hearts successfully moved between a back 3 and a back 4 last season. So in theory, there'd be no reason why they can't do it this year either. And I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't think we're a lost cause yet. I do think that was a worrying performance. Many more of them, and I'd start to get pretty worried. But it seemed to be like it's the only, like I say, it's the only one where there's been no positive so far. You mentioned earlier about there being deja vu from this time last season, basically between now and this time last season. Do you see more now than you saw at this point last season, or it was a wee bit deeper into the season, wasn't it? But when they were on the poor run last season, I mean, you wouldn't have predicted what was going to come after that, but Did you see that it was going to turn around? Did you see more then than you do kind of in this team?
Not really, no. Just because I'd seen a lot. That's why I think yesterday there was a lot of similarities to last season where we had loads of the ball and then we just didn't look like we were going to do anything with it. We didn't create clear-cut chances. We looked slow. We looked one-paced, and those were all kind of characteristics of the team last season. And weirdly, it was. This is why I made the point and wrote about it, was that whereas reason for like the back, there's merit, in the back 3, because that's what we changed to last season. I thought we got a lot of joy from it last season, but that was because we kind of went from being. It wasn't really clicking, and then it was almost like, right, we'll just be hard to beat, defensively solid, and then that just gave us a platform to build on. It wasn't exciting watching Hearts, but became effective. Obviously had a brilliant goal scorer, and just look at the Celtic performance, like really, really well organised, really well put together. But now you're looking 12 months on, and you're wanting a bit of evolution. And I think you wanting to see a bit more of what Naismith certainly talked about when he came in, and wanted to be on the front foot. I think he tried that with, for example, like the Fleetwood friendly, and there was kind of this idea that we'd play our own way. Don't really think about the opposition. That didn't work, but then. And then kind of tried to do that against Falkirk. That didn't work. And then I don't know if it just feels like Naismith's caught between what he's wanting to do and what to stick with. And there's obviously a lot of fans think to just go with, and there's reason within that, just go with one formation, find the best 11, and then just get a bit of consistency, and then you can go from there.
I think when you get into this kind of situation that maybe calls for that, yes, I think when things are going well, I think it's a bit of a sort of a red herring of a debate about between a back three and a back four. But I understand why it comes up when things are going wrong. But yeah, I do kind of like a horses for courses approach. And even when you play, depending on whether you play a 4 or 3, the players that you pick within those systems determine the characteristics of that system as well. And you can do different things, different tweaks within that as well. So it's not always just as simple as a back three or a back four. And I do agree with Naismith in that a lot of our failings this season have been individual errors. I mean, I don't think Naismith's blameless, but quite a bit of it has been down to individual errors. And the Falkirk game, for example, the chances were there to win that game. So yeah, there's definitely the blame can be apportioned across both Naismith and the players, but I don't think it's as simple as saying a back three or a back four.
Yeah. The only thing is with I get that, but with like I was just looking at it yesterday, and there was moments where you're looking and just seeing the structure of the team that when like got the ball, and it was just like Kingsley was almost like a spare part within the back three, because the play would be funneled between Kent and Rolls, and then Kingsley was like just it was there, wasn't really doing anything. It was like, whereas you could easily have just had Rolls and Kent set up as a back four, and then you push instead of having Kingsley there, you've got another like a winger. And I just thought, and I agree with the characteristics of the team, we were slow. The Graham says it here. Worry for me is the lack of energy.
2 seconds, Joel, all right?
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Worry for me is the lack of energy, and we don't look fit. Also, the team seem to have more hunger and desire than us, and I hate when we get outfought. That was certainly the case yesterday. You saw the way that some of the Motherwell players got in Hearts' faces. I thought Andy Halliday was definitely played with a point to prove. That was seen, and yeah, the energy, not just energy, I think the pace as well. There was times where we would win the no worries, mate, no worries. We would win the ball, and then it was just slow to get forward. There's turns and it was slow to get forward. Kind of Blair Spittle and Jan Danda, technically very good players, not the quickest. And then there was just a lack of excitement, urgency at a player who was going to drive with the ball from midfield. No one really did that. That's not really Spittle's game. That's not Danda's game by the looks of it. There was no one in wide areas who was willing to just go and take a player on. Taylor did quite well down the right hand side, got some joy from there, but the end product wasn't there. And again, this is a Motherwell side where Mark Allison says Motherwell had 8 players out. This wasn't a good Motherwell side either, and we were made to look very, very poor by a Motherwell side who were largely well organised. They didn't really create too much open play, but they had plenty of opportunities from set pieces. But the most worrying aspect is there's obviously the talk about the individual mistakes, and I think that can easily be rectified. My biggest concern is the lack of attacking productivity. We have not had the most amount of shots we've had on target in a game this season is 3. I think yesterday it was 2. I messaged Craig some stats yesterday, but I've put in an article, and I'll read them out if you give me a second. And I think this is kind of just looks at the first, certainly the way we started, where you had Blair Spittle, Jan Dand, and Alan Forrest. Between them, they had 1 shot, 0 passes into the box to a teammate, 1 key pass, 2 touches inside the Motherwell box. Changed formation, brought some different players on, and then 4 substitutes: Oda, Mackay, Devlin, Vargas. Yes, they combined for 1 shot, but 7 passes into a box to a teammate, 4 key passes altogether, and 13 touches inside the Motherwell box. I just don't think we were set up to get the best out of to get at Motherwell yesterday.
Yeah, again, Motherwell played us really well. They do deserve credit, but as you were kind of alluding to there, it's not a good Motherwell team, and they've been chopping and changing, especially in attack, because of the amount of injuries that they've had this season. And we were speaking to a Motherwell supporting mate before the game, and he was telling us how poor he thought his team were at that point. So yeah, that added to how poor the performance was. It's a really worrying one. Hopefully, it's just a one-off. I don't think we'll have the same issues on Thursday. It's a completely different game. It's a completely different atmosphere. They'll be able to lift themselves more for that. I'm not necessarily predicting a win or anything like that, but I do think we'll get much more of a performance. But yeah, exactly where the problems are it's difficult to pinpoint. I do think, as I was kind of saying in my previous answer, and sorry for disappearing there, I'm working with a really old laptop here. I do think the rut that we're in at the moment, it's probably calling for some stability now and some stick to a shape, stick to defined roles, and we need to get out of this rut and nip it in the bud as quickly as possible. We're lucky in a sense that it's early in the season because, I don't know, we've had people like mocking the league table and things like that, but anybody who reads anything into a league table after 3 games is silly. So it's early in the season. It's a short, poor run at the moment. But if it continues much longer, then we're into kind of dangerous territory.
So we'll come on to talk about what can be done to get out of that rut. But
I don't know, Joe.
What?
Okay.
So I'm going to get to that because I think that's a kind of a very good point. But I am one of those silly people who look at the league table just because it's one of those where it is a wee bit daft to look at the league table after 3 games, but when you compare it to who Hearts are likely to Hearts likely rivals for 3rd place, Aberdeen have opened up an 8-point gap already, and yeah, there's so much football to be played. There's so many points to be played for. So many points to be won, but it's just the perception, or just the optics of that. The optics of it aren't great. And yes, Aberdeen have a really good opening run off the table, but it just feeds into that negativity. And I suppose going on to when we mentioned about rectifying it, we mentioned that yesterday, and I think this is perhaps an issue in itself at the moment. Is who is your best? Who is the 11 that you get on the pitch, and you think, right, this is 11 to get us through these next couple of games, the next few games, to get us back on onto winning ways. Because I get the feeling that if everyone watching this, everyone listening to this, if we all wrote down our start 11, I just think you'd get so many different 11s. I just don't think. I think you'd maybe get 14 or 15 players. It would be 11 from 14 or 15 players, but what that 11 looks like, I just think it'll change from person to person. So
do you think there could be consensus on a core of players within that, a spine?
Yeah. I think you've got. I understand the rotation from game to game, and Naismith did it all last season. There was only once where he kept the same team in back-to-back games. But a lot of it was like 1 change or 2 changes or 3 changes. We've had games where it's like 8 changes, 5 changes already early on in the season. And he's done it at this point in the season where it's actually the schedule's not that intense. He mentioned that at the start of the campaign. It was like it's going to be a wee bit harder to keep people, give people minutes or keep people happy because it's only a 1 game a week. But he's still kind of chopped and changed quite significantly. But I do think you have to have at least 7, but preferably like 8 or 9 guys who right, these are the guys I can trust. These are the guys that are playing every week. These guys know what it takes. And then it's like tweaking it kind of in and out. But the issue is, we've got a massive squad, and then there's been talk about wanting to open up space for young players. But the only time young players have been on the bench, I think I can recall this season, is in Europe, where we had a bigger bench.
Yeah. Yeah, and goals is the big issue. You mentioned Shankland earlier, and I wouldn't be leveling any criticism at his way. I mean, yes, his form's dipped a bit. I think it's natural for somebody who sets the bar high. They're going to have dips in form at some point. There's going to be times when he goes on runs where he doesn't score goals. It's more pronounced at the moment because there's no one else you can rely on to score a goal at the moment. So the other goals have come with Kent and Oda. Substituting a defender. So we can't rely on any regular starters to take the burden off Shankland.
And then that comes to another question where people ask about recruitment, is the fact that we've not signed, allowed Tagawa to go, but not signed another forward. Musa's come in, but it's clear that Musa's not ready to make an impact already. And you're looking at having signed 9 that really, and I think it's understandable, fans are feeling this way, that probably do need another forward. I'd say at least one before the window shuts on Friday night. And that's, but you're right, it's when you're creating so few really good chances. Yes, we created quite a few against Falkirk, but Pilsen didn't really create too many good chances. Dundee chances weren't loads. Yesterday there was very few, and you're relying really only if you're one person who you rely on for those goals isn't it's kind of off the pace a wee bit. It's difficult to get. It means other people have need to step up, and it took ages last season for people to step up. And you're hoping someone like Vargas was going to kick on, but that's not really been the case yet. And certainly in front of goal, Forrest, I think it was his first start on yesterday, and again he didn't look. Didn't look at it. Barely. I was going to say he barely was a threat. He wasn't a threat. So yeah, it's a difficult one because I agree that Shankland is Shankland's a number 9, but he's also a number 10. Yesterday he was dropping far. This is one of the bits I'm doing an analysis on, is that he was dropping far too deep. He was coming past Danda, and there was one moment where Spittle was one of the centre midfielders you expect to progress the ball. Spittle got the ball 7 yards outside the box, our box, and then passed it to Shankland. It was 5 yards away from him. It's that shouldn't be happening, but it's difficult.
It reminded me of, I said this on Twitter earlier, but it reminded me of Tony Watt at certain points during Robbie Nielsen's first spell, where he would just play centre forward, but he'd be at the centre circle trying to make things happen because nothing was happening. It was very much like that performance from Shankland. And he's frustrated at the moment. You can see he's very frustrated.
Yeah. I think a few people have mentioned that with his body language, and there was a few moments there where he was, you notice it watching it back, that he was very expressive in how he's feeling. Now, to put you on the spot, what would you go for? Just if you had to choose a Hearts team for tomorrow, what formation would you go for, and who would you go for?
Are we talking about for the Pilsen game?
Just in general. Just
in general.
If you had to
and everyone's fit.
Yeah.
Oh my God! You are putting me on the spot here.
Or not if everyone's fit. Just so you're just looking at. So you're looking at. You accept that Benny and Callum Neuenhoff, both players who are getting better by the day or by the game that they're out, and there's reason for that. I think people have to respect that Benny Beningame is bringing something to the team that is that's so hard to replace, and Neuenhoff's importance as he kind of grew and before his injury last season, and it's kind of just grown and grown even more because he's probably a midfielder who no one else in the team provides the attributes he does. But so you kind of discounting them. And in terms of the back four, you'll actually look at the back four. We signed 2 right backs and we finished yesterday with playing Steven Kingsley at right back.
I know. And even him shoehorned into awkward positions, I would stop. So assuming it's a back four, let's just say Gordon, I'd persist with Taylor. There's something there. Every game there's a heart and mouth moment with him, it seems, but there is something there to at least persist with for now. Kenton Rowles and Penrice. It's got to be Boateng in front of the defence in the absence of the 2 that you were just talking about there. Oh, I don't know, Devlin and Grant, but Grant, it's more my idea of Grant rather than the consistency that you do get from him. But I think even this season, there's been flashes of the player he can be there. And then Vargas, Shankland, and someone else across the front 3. I'm trying to think of someone else. Who am I blanking on? Would it be Forrest or something like that? I don't know.
Forrest or Barry Mackay.
Or Barry Mackay. Those are my options. Yeah. I'll go Forrest then. Something like that.
It's so would you go for Kingsley over Rowles? Sorry, Rowles over Kingsley.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I'm not entirely sure. I think so. I think so. I like the Kent Rowles partnership, and Kingsley brings a lot. I mean, and with it being a squad game, I mean, he'll get plenty of starts and minutes and things like that. But I don't know. What would your team be? I'll pick holes in yours.
No, this is me just proving how difficult it is.
You put me on the spot, but you've come with a prepared team.
I know. I'm just laughing. Alexander Taylor saying Forrest and Barry Mackay, listen to us, that's how bad it is. We need to send a wide player and a striker ASAP. There is a problem. Grant and Devlin is HMS midfield. So I'm just want to, before as I stall to say my answer, it's clear that listen to fans, reading replies on Twitter, just getting a feeling of what fans are thinking, seeing what people are putting in the YouTube comments, is that it's very much clear that Hearts fans, what they view as the best thing is something is a settled formation, preferably a back four, and to stop making changes from game to game. That's the overarching theme. My 11, I would stick with Taylor. Penrice at the moment, I think Salazar didn't have the best of games yesterday, or best of debuts, but it's like I said last season, I think you need to give players time. Seen it with Hoff, seen it with Vargas,
especially when they come from other countries. Definitely, they get more of a grace period for bedding in.
So Taylor, Ken, Kingsley for Rowles. I think he's in Europe fine, but seen it yesterday, just still doesn't win enough of the kind of good old meat and potatoes defensive duels. Gave away a few stupid fouls, one of which led to the first goal, just by pushing or not winning the physical side of things. Then James Penrice at left back with a view for Salazar, maybe further down the line. With Benny and Hoff are out. Boateng, Devlin, further forward, Shankland and Vargas through the middle, and then it's difficult because I don't think we've got like wide men. Have been consistent enough. You're losing something in moving Danda out wide. I think Vargas and Shankland can work through the middle. I just think if you played number 10 like Danda, then Shankland just naturally drops. He's a number 9, but he naturally drops and wants to link play, and then he's just getting in the road of Danda. I suppose you could make an argument, maybe Shankland up front, Danda behind, Vargas kind of cutting in off the left, and then wild card Finlay Pollock on the right in midfield. He's the most exciting. Honestly, he's the most exciting player at Hearts at the moment. I know he's.
Oh, sorry, man.
I know he's been. No, I'm just saying. I know he's been playing in the B team and lower league is lower level, but you look at an actual wide man who is quick and wants to take players on. You've got that in Finlay Pollock. But yeah, it's interesting because Oda, Barney Mackay, and Forrest. People have to remember Forrest did really well last season. 2 seasons ago, Barney Mackay was exceptional, and then Oda has been pretty productive in terms of his goal scoring over his Hearts career, but he's frustrated. All 3 in times are inconsistent and frustrate, which again points to potentially not having upgraded in the wide areas. But yeah, this I think us just going back and forth in this just shows that there's still, despite all the recruitment, just something lacking balance wise somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things you're saying there that I was going to pick up on was like having trouble picking a left-sided player there for a starting 11 with the width that Penrice gives there. You could go with someone like a Danda who tucks in, but that's not really worked when he's kind of played that role this season, or somebody like Spittle. But again, we tried that yesterday and it didn't really work. At the same time, the state of the game at that point was quite desperate for us. So I don't know how much you can look in. I mean, his overall performance wasn't good when he was playing deeper. He gave the ball away quite a bit in the first half. But I don't know, maybe he's an option for, like, if you play somebody who kind of like tucks in from the left-hand side and then you have somebody else on the other side giving you the width. But one of the things you mentioned there, which I think once things click, I think will be quite productive for us this season, is Vargas getting in behind and Shanklin being the one dropping off. But as you were saying, that then creates the problem that you can't play somebody like Danda, or you can't play Spittle in that same area pushed forward. So yeah.
It's difficult. I wrote a piece before the season. I was talking about the squad depth and how hard it is going to be to pick an 11. But it wasn't in my mind. It wasn't going to be as this type of hard. It was hard. It's like, who do you leave out? And now it's like you get into the point after 5 games, like who do you play? So it's a difficult one. I just want to bring up this. I don't think Alexander says Forrest was not exceptional last season, Joe. What the hell have you been spoken to me? I'm not sure I said he was exceptional. I think I thought he had a really good season. He was certainly one of the most improved players last season and really effective. But for him to be exceptional, I think he needs to provide more in terms of assists and goals, which we very, very much need to do. This has been a bit scattergun, but Hearts have been a bit scattergun. What is there anything else worth adding? Because we will later on in the week we'll talk about the rest of the transfer window. We'll do that on Wednesday and kind of look ahead to the Pilsen game as well, and then we'll be back at the end of the week to look at the Pilsen game. But yeah, I don't think there's. I don't know if there's anything else from yesterday's game that's worth talking about.
Well, one kind of related thing. Asked this in the last video I was on, and we're going into we're in the final week of silly season. But does this result now change the priorities? Naismith still said after the game that there probably wasn't going to be much movement. But do you think they stick, or do you think they push the boat out a wee bit more? I've just mixed my metaphors there.
I think the last 4 or 5 games, I think that was always the case that the team needed another option in attack, providing that there's going back. If Tagawa had left, I thought there was another striker that was needed. And then you were kind of relying on how Musa adapted and how he fit into the plans. And now that he's not really getting in squads. He's not made his debut yet. I think Naismith has also spoken about it's going to take him take them time to adapt. So then you're looking at being 2 down in terms of forward options from that from like a few weeks ago. So yeah, definitely there is there's a need for one other in there. And Naismith came out and said that he doesn't expect to be busy, and I don't think. I think some viewed it as when he said not being busy, as in not doing anything. But I think I'll be surprised if Hearts aren't trying to be active rather than they're obviously always looking and monitoring the window. But I would be very surprised if Hearts weren't trying to be active in the final few days and to bring in another option and attack. Because you've seen it with. You've seen it on Thursday with Pilsen when you start Vargas and Shankland and you need to replace them. You bring in, like, for example, Boyce on, and in a game where Hearts need an out ball, you've not got one in Boyce. Yeah, he'll take it in at feet, but I think if you're playing Boyce, it's in games where you dominate the ball rather than you're needing someone to run in behind or occupy defenders. So yes, I do think there's work still needing done in the transfer window, which after 9 signings, it wasn't the position I thought the team would be going into in the final few days.
Aye, you're right. I mean, that priority certainly will not have changed. They will be trying to bring in another forward option, and they should do by the time the window closes. I think it's clear as day for anybody to see that they need another forward option.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll leave it there. This a scattergun view of Motherwell and the state of Hearts at the moment. But I think what we can take from this is that it's going the wrong way at the moment. For example, there's Dundee, really bad half, and then you responded. Falkirk started off well, and then it got worse, and then played well against Pilsen. Didn't really have much of attacking threat in the final 30 minutes, and then it was just 90 minutes. I think was pretty much 90 minutes of not great football and the need for a more settled team. But we'll see what Thursday brings. We'll see what the rest of the week brings, and we'll see what that in both the transfer window and on the pitch. But we'll probably be back on Wednesday to have a wee chat about the transfer window and preview the Victoria Pilsen game. So hopefully it's a much better view then. But as I just trying to stop ramble. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening, for engaging, for subscribing, etc. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciate everyone who watches and listens and gets in the debate in the comments as well. Like I said, we'll be back on probably Wednesday and then again on Thursday, and we'll have plenty on the site in the coming hours and days and weeks. Until then, thank you very much and goodbye.